There's serious interest, from what I'm told, at Michigan in DeBoer.
The hot team that barely got in, they're always dangerous when they're playing with a little house money.
Why should I not empty all of my 401k into Oregon winning that game?
Did you see how Army-Navy first quarter ended?
Yes.
Oh, baby!
They did not profile like a 10-win team. They profiled like 7-win type teams. I can't wait to let 18 to 22-year-olds emotionally ruin me.
I made a call, to Vegas. I said, look, we actually need the paper here.
Welcome again. Bearcats College Football Preview is here. As always, joined by Sammy P and Geoff Schwartz. And guys, big weekend. There's something about playoff football now, college football. Just little juices are flowing. And we're both in it.
I'm not excited at all, obviously, to watch my Ducks play this weekend. It's here. Look, you talk about this for weeks. We finally got here. The games start now, and the real, the real results are going to happen now.
You think Bears going to like Miami this weekend? What do
Maybe
you think?
just a smidge.
Yeah, we already have a +5.5 for the bank from Selection Day, but someone to kind of talk us down here, put everything in perspective. Gentleman who we normally have join us every Friday on Bruce and the Bear, Bruce Feldman here to kick around the college football playoff with us as well. And Bruce, this number's consistently been coming down. It's now A&M -3 in a lot of spots over Miami. Your thoughts on this game, and I know you've had a lot of coverage about this game, and it feels like amongst the people you've spoken to, I think a lot of people may be giving Miami a good shot here.
Yeah, so we did a story that ran on today, actually came out, where I talked to 24 college coaches and asked them a series of questions. And one of the questions was, what is the best chance of an upset? And there was a bunch of coaches who said, I don't think there'll be any upsets. But I was surprised, overwhelming. 58% of the coaches said Miami is going to beat Texas A&M. That surprised me. I actually thought A&M is going to win this game. But the more guys I talked to think Miami's probably way more positioned for this game. You have a quarterback in Carson Beck who has played in a ton of big games from his days at Georgia. You got a really good offensive line. You have an elite defensive line. And as good as the A&M run game is, one of the coaches pointed out, it was like, yeah, Le'Veon Moss is probably coming back for A&M, but he ain't as good as he is. He ain't better than Jeremiah Love, and Jeremiah Love could do nothing against Miami. And also from the Miami side, from sources I've talked to, they're very optimistic that Keontae Scott, who's one of their best defensive players, a really good nickel, who's missed like the last month of the season, they expect him to be back. So it's a fascinating game to kick off, what should be a really fun tournament this week.
Bear brought up the day the bracket came out, Miami was 5.5-point dogs. And then that slowly got down to 4.5. And here we sit now at 3. A couple things. One, you have the A&M loss to Texas, which we just saw, and that's a little alarming. Miami's got NFL size all over the lines, O-line and D-line. But also, Bruce, I talked to a couple guys that bet Miami coming into this weekend. They say be careful for the team that shouldn't be in the eyes of some. Like the hot team that barely got in, they're always dangerous when they're playing with a little house money.
What about the cold team that barely got in? Maybe they're talking about Alabama.
Do you think you're more concerned with the way Texas played against A&M, or are you more impressed with how Miami finished?
I think I was more impressed with how Miami finished, to be honest. Mark Fletcher, who was a good running back, was banged up at midseason. Some people there I talked to weren't sure if he was going to make it back. He did come back late in the year. And when he was out, Gerard Pringle, who's a freshman running back, really dynamic back, he emerged in the last month. And I think it gave him a pretty good 1-2 punch. For me, guys, the thing that, as much experience as he has, I'm still a little leery of Carson Beck. Do you trust him? We know he's got good receivers, and one is elite in Malachi Toney. I think because a lot of people maybe don't watch the ACC, I'm not sure if they know just how special this freshman receiver is. I mean, they put him at Wildcat. He can actually throw. They line him up in the slot, outside. Notre Dame has a really good secondary, and Notre Dame couldn't touch him. So I'm interested to see how Mike Elko and A&M deals with them. Also curious, A&M has one of these situations where both coordinators are going to be in new jobs very soon, including, the offensive coordinator, Colin Klein's going back to his alma mater to take over. I don't want to say, is that a distraction, but does that play into it where we know if you've already, taken another job, you kind of have one foot out the door already?
Bruce, let's transition to the next game here, and it's time for our Super Six sponsored by DraftKings. Bear and I both have columns out breaking this down later in the week, but we'll ask you here, Bruce, who will be the winner between Oklahoma and Alabama, the rematch that we just saw about a month ago? This game is played in Oklahoma. Alabama's favored by 1.5 here, but just straight up, who wins this game?
Man, I think Alabama's the better team. If you get Jam Miller back, it at least gives them some semblance of a running game. I would lean towards Alabama. I was surprised at how many coaches felt like Oklahoma, even though the home team and it beat them twice in a row in the last 12 months, wouldn't win this game. But again, if push comes to shove right now, and I'm thinking about it right on the spot, who's better in big games? Kalen DeBoer has been phenomenal in big games, and there's a lot of pressure around him. I think Alabama will rise up and get it done for him.
One of the things I worry about, Bruce, in this game is you look at last year, what the Oklahoma defense did to Alabama in Norman. You look at the Oklahoma defense, what they did this year, despite allowing a bunch of yards, got the big turnovers. Really, I'm not sure, how healthy Ty Simpson is. They're so one-dimensional that I'm hearing they might have Just Cuevas back, which would be a huge deal for the offense. You think Jam Miller is going to play, but in a lot of these games, I just kind of look at what's the best unit on the field, and the best unit on the field is the Oklahoma defense, and maybe the second best unit on the field is the Oklahoma special teams. And despite how bad the offense is, look, these are the two lowest power-rated teams amongst the Power Four teams that are in the playoff, and I wanted to bet against both of them in the playoffs. So, of course, now they're both overseeded and playing each other. I've started to come around on liking the Sooners here, especially as a short dog, because, again, Sammy was talking about it in the previous segment about Miami and A&M. Be careful of the team that doesn't get in. And you were joking about what about the Cole team and Alabama here. But Oklahoma, I think, has taken a lot of incoming, certainly from me. And I think the Sooners might be kind of live here.
Yeah, and they've taken it a bunch from their peers in the coaching world. I thought John Mateer really fell off after getting hurt. He barely was able to practice before Red River. I think he threw 3 picks in that game. He hadn't been able to do hardly anything since September, right? Now we know Isaiah Satania is a dynamic big play guy. That's about all they got, right? The run game is really limited. What's going to be fascinating to see is over the 2 years that Kalen DeBoer's been there, when they've got punched in the stomach on the road, almost every time it feels like they've buckled. Now they didn't when they went to Athens, but when they played Georgia the last time in the SEC title game, they didn't even show up. So I'm intrigued by the Miami A&M game because it feels like both teams could be dangerous and win more than one game if they get through that. This one I'm very curious about from the Alabama standpoint. What is the psyche of the Crimson Tide? You got a lot of rumblings about Kalen DeBoer coaching future. I think there's a lot of people who are like just down on them right now. And as you said, they are really one-dimensional. And that's a program that, even when they had the elite receivers, they still had a semblance of a running game. Right now, it just feels like with Ryan Grubb, that's been a non-factor. And if Jam Miller's back, they got to find a way to help Ty Simpson out because you're right. He hadn't been the same in probably the last month of the season.
Is the most pressure on any coach this weekend on Kalen DeBoer? It does feel like, as you mentioned, there's rumors about him going elsewhere, but also I think if they had lost the Iron Bowl, he might have been out or gone somewhere else as well. Like, is he the guy this weekend that has the most pressure on him to win?
I certainly think so. I mean, he did an amazing job at Washington, got them to the national title game. But now you're sitting there looking, last year they missed the playoff. Not only that, they lose to a pretty bad Michigan team in the bowl game. And then they get off to a clunker of a start, losing pretty handily to what turned out to be not a good Florida State team. They sputter down the stretch. They were able to find their way into the playoff, and plenty of people are very cynical of how that was made to happen. But they got in. And now they're playing a team where you got a mulligan. You get a chance to beat them. As Bear said, they lost just a few weeks ago at home. It was close, but they still lost. They got embarrassed last year by a bad Oklahoma team. That's a lot of pressure. I think if they make an early exit, I think Alabama fans, a lot of them are going to be done with him. Now, the Alabama leadership, I think, really likes Kalen DeBoer, but I think the fans are going to have a hard time thinking, yeah, this is the guy. You can't lose to Oklahoma, where, they're just kind of a dud on offense, and lose to them 3 times in like 14 or 13 months. That's not going to sit well with them, no matter how good the recruiting class that DeBoer just signed was.
All right, Bruce, we'll be back in a second to talk some Michigan and some college football playoff futures. All right, we're back with Bruce. Got to ask you about Michigan here. Obviously, the firing of Sharon Moore last week kind of shocked the college football world. Where do we stand now with the Michigan job?
Well, I'll start with this. I know that there's been multiple investigations. There's one currently going on. It's not just about like kind of what did they know and when did they know it? It's like, how come you didn't know this about Sharon Moore? I mean, there's just a lot of damning things we're hearing about. I think in the end, I think they're going to have a new AD. Ward Manuel, I think, was involved in this process. And I think it feels like the University of Michigan leadership kind of let a lot of folks down there. Now, obviously, the blame can go to Sharon Moore first and foremost, but beyond that, it's like, where is the leadership of this university at this point? And I think that makes it a little more complicated as to how this search plays out, right? Given that when this has happened, I mean, it's not that late in terms of, we've seen like Nick Saban step down in January, and that set off a bunch of dominoes. Whereas we've had a crazy carousel, and by early December, seemed like it was all wrapped up. If this had happened 3 weeks ago, I think Matt Campbell might be the head coach at Michigan, but he's obviously taken the Penn State job. We mentioned Kalen DeBoer a little bit ago. Everything I've heard is that he does like it at Alabama, and I know the AD really likes him, and the leadership there likes him and thinks he's the guy they want to lead the program. But if they lose, man, I wonder if that changes the calculus for a lot of people, including DeBoer. Because I think there's serious interest, from what I'm told, at Michigan in DeBoer. And I think he's also a really good offensive coach. And Michigan has been dreadful on offense. They were horrible last year. They weren't that much better this year. And I think that's something they'll look at. Beyond that, names that I think are in play here, I think Jed Fish, former Michigan assistant under Jim Harbaugh, did an amazing job at Arizona and just led Washington to 9 wins in year 2. Also, really good offensive coach. I think he's in play for this job. I know there's probably Kenny Dillingham from Arizona State, another one who is in the mix, we believe. And then after that, it wouldn't shock me if they ended up just keeping Biff Poggi, the interim, in there, because the feeling, and this has been brought out to me by a few people around Michigan, is like this program needs an adult in the room. They've had a ton of drama, and they feel like Poggi, who was really integral for Jim Harbaugh getting the program turned around, could be a good option for the short term, because they feel like they've let a lot of the players down in how this has all been handled.
Do you get the sense that there needs to be, or there will be, or there should be just a clean break now from the Harbaugh tree? Like Jesse Minter, who's been mentioned for the job, he's got a show cause that goes through April, I think. So that kind of takes him out of the running. All the allegations, everything, the suspensions, the arrest, and with the investigations, what's gone on with some of the Harbaugh-related era type of guys, like, probably smart to just kind of move on from that, right?
Probably. I mean, it also on Minter's side, I mean, the Chargers are good. He's probably in line to get some NFL head coaching jobs from people I know who are pretty close to Jesse Minter. They're like, why would he want to come back to college in this iteration of college football when every player on your roster is a free agent every year? If he can get an NFL head coaching job, that seems like it's a lot better lifestyle and quality of life to go do that than come back to Michigan. I don't think he's a factor in this search at all. Like what you said, I mean, Harbaugh, Fish is connected to Harbaugh in that he did work there for 2 years. I don't really see him in the same category as, because he was in the early part of the Harbaugh run. But I think the challenge also is if you bring somebody in, let's say you do hire Kenny Dillingham, you're taking yes, he's been a head coach now for 3 years and it's at his alma mater, but this is a way different animal you're jumping into. And I think with the dynamics of it, I'm not saying he couldn't get it going there, but it's way different to take over an Arizona State program, which, by the way, to his credit, Herm Edwards had kind of gutted that place and there was NCAA buzzards swirling around there too. But I just think that program had been such a disappointment for so long, whereas Michigan just a couple of years ago won the national titles. The expectations, the infrastructure, kind of the people involved, I think there's a lot to navigate there. And so when you start hearing about like, oh, this is a hot coach and that is, I think it's way different to expect them to jump into a program that's kind of trying to start the motor as opposed to one that just won the national title a couple of years ago, has huge money invested in it, and also has a lot of politics connected to it and not a lot of alignment. And so that's the part where I think you have to maybe know a little bit about what rock to step on and what's going to fall beneath your feet. And I think there's definitely a lot of that's tied to the Michigan program right now.
Bruce Feldman, appreciate your insight in making us all a hell of a lot smarter on both the Michigan coaching search and the college football playoff in general. Make sure you check out all of Bruce's stuff on The Athletic as well. Thanks for joining us. And when we get back, we'll talk some college football playoff futures.
All right, we're back on Bear Bets, talking overall title futures here. I know, Bear, you like exploring these markets here with some of these more exotic wagers. You can wager on EXACTA, right? Who plays in the championship game, who makes a quarterfinal, who makes a semifinal. If you want to lay 2,800 on Oregon making a quarterfinal, that's an option for you.
Oregon's going to make the quarterfinal.
Yeah.
They're not losing.
I don't think so.
Why should I not empty all of my 401k and my savings account into Oregon winning that game?
You could certainly do that.
It's the easiest 3-hour return on money you're ever going to get.
We'd have to vote you off the island if they lost the game.
Yeah, be done.
He would jump. He would sail himself and he'd go out there.
I would probably do that.
But
yeah,
I'm high on Oregon. I know that both coordinators are leaving after the playoff. I think this is a team that's kind of under. I hate the under the radar analogy, but I think because they did lose to Indiana on their home field earlier this year, I think Oregon's not getting the respect in the market that they deserve. Like, I get them at plus 850 or so, or 800 still to win the national title. You can get them in exactas to beat Georgia at like 18, 19 to 1. You can play it back the other way. If you could find like just like an Oregon, Georgia, Canella, maybe an Oregon, Miami, and Oregon A&M, if you're looking to beat Ohio State on that bottom side, I think the Ducks are super live on the top half of the bracket to at least get to the title game.
There's a 20 to 1 on Oregon, Georgia, by the way. Okay. If you could find that out there. Oregon, Miami would be good for the podcast. Maybe not emotionally for us for 3.5 hours.
We'll be fine.
We have to stream that, obviously.
Let's hope we get that opportunity.
I surely hope we get that opportunity. Look, I mean, the thing about Oregon is that we're healthy. Like, that's a big deal, right? And down the stretch, I think people did not acknowledge at least what the team was going through. We played 2 wide receivers for 3 weeks straight, and we won those games anyways, and now the wide receivers appear to be back. But guys, I think setting Oregon aside, the winner to me is probably coming out of just 3 teams, Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, I think, right?
Oh, really?
Are you not on that?
I'm on the field. He bet it first, but I bet the field. Did you lay minus 10 or 15?
15.
Because now it's minus 125. Like, it's moved. The field is more expensive.
So the field minus 125 for 10 teams versus Ohio State, Indiana.
Correct.
Not 10 really, but
technically 10. Bear. Okay,
probably
those G5 schools matter. Okay.
Oh, they matter, but they're not. They got no chance.
I agree with that as well. So let's say it's not Ohio State or Indiana, and you have the field. Is there a team that you like out of that field? Is it Georgia, A&M? Is it Tech? Is it Oregon?
Not to pick a fight with the biggest guy in the room, but I'm on Tech, and I said that before the bracket came out. So I do think the winner of Tech and Oregon goes to the title game and then faces the winner of Georgia and Ohio State. So the exactas that I built were Tech over Georgia and Georgia over Tech. Average price is like 18.5 to 1.
Georgia's interesting because I think that we saw them earlier this year against Bama, against Tennessee, Ole Miss maybe, and the defense wasn't as good.
Right.
defense Bears got a lot better.
It has.
The question, I think, is just consistency in offense for Georgia, right? Otherwise, I think we'd be all over Georgia to win the championship.
Yeah, no, I think certainly by the end of the year, they look completely different than what they did start of the year. And
you get Kirby.
You get Kirby and an experienced offensive line. And
does that matter to you, picking the winners of this tournament that have been there before? Like Indiana's just not been here before. They were there last year, obviously, but they're number one seed now.
No, I don't think it does. It really does. I think if you're a team like Oregon, who last year had the bad taste in their mouth from being the 1 seed and kind of getting embarrassed in the Rose Bowl, and you have a chance to kind of redeem yourself a little bit, I think it matters. But for Indiana, they've answered every call this year. I think they're kind. I think in a sense you're kind of going in with house money, and whatever happens.
Are we sleeping on them though?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing, the anti-Indiana take would be that everything went perfect in nearly every game this season. They won close game at Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
They won a close game in Oregon. They beat Ohio State close. They beat Penn State close. Like every one of those moments went perfect for them. Will it go perfect for them in 3 straight games again to win the championship?
It is crazy too. You look at these odds here for the FanDuel Exactas. 3 of the top 4 short prices are Ohio State winning. Ohio State over Indiana, Ohio State over Tech, Ohio State over Oregon. Even though they're not the 1 seed, they are the top 3 of 4 Exactas have Ohio State winning.
Which was kind of the case last year in the playoff too, that even though Ohio State was an 8 seed and did not win the Big Ten championship, they were still seen as favorites to win the national title.
All right, let's get into some of these matchups here between the G5 teams and their counterparts. The first one is my Ducks here against James Madison, still sitting 20.5. I think all 3 of us took 20.5. I don't know if you did, Sam. I know Bear and I did immediately when this came out. It has not moved at all. Total's 47.5, super low here. I guess just first off, I just think Oregon covers the game. You guys know I don't bet on Oregon a ton to cover these games. I just don't know what about this game is any different than the times Oregon has been in 21 points over anyone else this season. They've played really well in these situations. They're better. They're motivated. And I don't think JMU scores very much in this game, Bear. So I like Oregon to cover this game.
Yeah, I don't think so either. We took it at that open, expecting the number to move. I still think as we get closer to kickoff on Saturday night, I think we are going to see some 22, some 22.5, some 23, and something that public money comes in. Then I think you will see a little bit of a buyback. Yeah, it's so hard for me to get excited about this game, knowing that the outcome, who's going to win, and it's ultimately you're gonna have to try and make some money figuring out what way the game's gonna go. But I did lay the 20.5 early on. I'm hoping I'll have an opportunity to take 23 or so to get a little bit of a middle back semi.
Odds are good. The NFL will win this window with Bears Packers.
Oh, yeah.
Over Oregon and JMU. Probably going to happen in this one. I was a part of it too. You guys laid it. I laid 20.5. I know some wise guys that laid it, but then what did you hear last night, Tuesday night? Phones ringing, guys at the South Point, Chris Andrews, hello. I took a bet at 22. Other guys in town took a bet at 21.5. So I think there's this expectation that you do get this to climb closer to kick on Saturday. But Bear, if they're taking 22 and 21.5, I don't know that we're going to get to 23 and 24 like we once thought.
Yeah, we just kind of misread it. I thought we would, just because the infinity for the favorite for the Ducks, and just that lack of belief that JMU really was a playoff team. So Jeff, we'll see what happens.
I'm surprised, to be honest with you, that would be a play that a lot of groups would make, considering the things I've laid out. I don't know what the football reason is, other than maybe JMU's, or are they a pace dictator? They're able to just
ugly, slow, held Louisville 27-14. I think that game was earlier in the year, but it's Louisville. And Chris Bell's a good receiver, but
despite what your guy GRP says, wise guys are betting numbers. They're not betting teams. So I think some groups see that 22, 21.5 and just they want over 21. And this could very easily be 49-28 or 28-7. I mean, just a multiple of 7.
Sure. I mean, I don't think JMU is going to score the 14 points that they're expected to score.
Is it a situation where people think it's going to be like that Northwestern game where Northwestern did nothing for 3 quarters and a quarter.
Sure.
Of a quarter.
I just personally, I don't like wagering on the idea that maybe you get a backdoor cover like late. Like that feels like a really, very tough wager to make in a 21-point game, a 21 spread.
Sammy, I don't want to bury the headline here. Wait a minute. So GRP says we don't bet the numbers. We're betting teams, not the number.
He likes to bet teams. Yes. You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, he likes to bet teams. He says wise guys bet teams. And then wise guys corrected him. Said they bet numbers.
Okay.
That's what's happening here. That's all it is. And it doesn't mean they're right.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Because,
I know.
look, here's the problem with, and I'm going to be on Tulane later in the show, and some people are going to bet James Madison. If it's 14-0, 17-0 with either of these dogs, Bear, might as well be 50-0 because they're not catching up.
So let's talk Tulane Ole Miss then, Sammy, because Tulane goes to play Ole Miss. We know Ole Miss, most of the coaches back in the building for this game, but Lane Kiffin is going to be gone. Tulane also missing their coach. Right? I mean, their coach will be there, but he's also Florida's head coach at the same time here. Number 17.5 here. You do like a side, Sammy.
I just don't trust Ole Miss's defense. I know we've seen this game already, and it wasn't pretty, but there's a reason this number is lower than I think market expected.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those 17.5s are going away. I see a 16.5 offshore. I see a 17 at Circa, at Chris, at Superbook. So there's clearly enough of a push on Tulane at plus 17.5, and they seem to be pot committed still. A lot of these programs aren't. I think they are.
I'm having a hard time. I don't have a single bet on this game. I won't have a single bet on this game. I just don't know. Again, I don't trust the Ole Miss defense at all. You don't know how the practices have gone. The assistants are there, but at the time, maybe that could be a positive that people think Ole Miss is going to fall flat on their face and they'll come out and they'll play well. I can't see Tulane winning, but at the same time, I could see Tulane keeping this close if indeed Ole Miss does kind of come out a little bit flat and disorganized and such.
Bear said he's not going to wager on this game. We know he's going to be on his cruise, walking on the deck, with his phone up in the air, looking for cell service to place a wager on Ole Miss to win before kickoff.
If you get a text or two, though, you'll play it, depending on what happens.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I'll be in the middle of the Caribbean, Atlantic, and I don't have legal book access there. I mean, are you insinuating that I would make a wager on some type of offshore or PPH skin?
I would never.
I just want to make sure that you
never do that.
Thank you.
Did you call ahead for the cruise ship and ask if you will have an ability to watch Miami?
I emailed Oceania Cruise Lines, and 6 weeks ago saying, "Hey, I'm work Fox Sports for my job. I'm gonna need to watch these games."
His name out there.
Well, no, I wanted to say
this is the Bear.
I emailed the PR, the public relations, just so they know it's not ridiculous.
Did you do it with your Fox email? I
did not, but I never heard back. I'm like, hey, for my job, I'm gonna have to write on these and do podcasts on these games to cover it on the in-house feed. Are we gonna have the access to ESPN International or whatever to be able to watch? And I didn't get anything back.
Maybe do you need to bring a satellite with you?
I was gonna say maybe
I might outside your king suite.
No, all you gotta do is you gotta grease the guy bartending on the cruise.
Yeah, as long as there's we can get a satellite feed of the game, we'll be okay.
There's me drinking mudslides and pina coladas just watching Miami.
Absolutely.
You grease the bartender ahead of time. You throw him a nice 50-day one. Without put on whatever you want.
And the great thing Saturday is that game. You got the other couple of playoff games. You got NFL. It could just be an all-time day of just literally sitting and doing nothing.
I cannot wait.
By the way, the Miami game, I didn't really get a chance to talk earlier. Did you know? I was just looking at some things. Did you know that they have A&M? They have 3 interceptions all year as a defense.
I did not know that.
I guess it's one of the bigger keys of the game. Is Bruce brought it up as well. Do you trust Carson Beck? But A&M's defense against all of the really mid quarterbacks they played all year long, 3 interceptions.
The fact is, A&M had an easy schedule this year, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that is the truth. And they played a really good Texas team to end the season. It didn't go very well. And they're going to play a much tougher Miami team they've played most of the season. And that, to me, bodes well for Miami in this spot. The game is on the road, which will be difficult, right? Which makes it more difficult. Again, I trust Elko. I do. I trust him in these games, these spots. His team has not been here before. Miami's team has not been here either, so I can't really use that as sort of a way to handicap this game. But Carson Beck is an older quarterback. He's playing a lot of big games before. I don't think he'll be rattled by this environment. I don't like how much noise I'm hearing from A&M's players about this game. I wish they would be a little more quiet when it comes to some of the things they've said, which does worry me a little bit, that I feel a little too overconfident in this spot. And I just think pound for pound, Miami, what they can do, and they can disrupt, A&M and make it, make life very difficult for them.
Their O-line, to me, is going to dictate the game. The U's O-line against A&M's D-line. To me, that's the matchup of the game. I will say, though, Bear, I mean, that's the game that's taken the most sharp money. Of the 4 playoff games, Miami has been the biggest mover, from 4.5 to 3 in Vegas. I know you got a 5.5.
Right.
That was a bad number. I think it was DraftKings that put that up. But Vegas was 4.5, and now Vegas is living on 3. That is sharp play on the Kings.
Yeah, and I wonder if they'll sit at 3 or if it'll go through that and go to 2.5, and then maybe you'd see a little buyback on A&M as well. But you're right about the Miami offensive line, and I think one of the things we're going to find out too is about Cassius Howell, SEC Defensive Player of the Year. Half of his sacks this year came in 2 games against Utah State and Mississippi State. So I think maybe people are wondering about that. Like, can he produce against the Miami offensive line? On the flip side, you talk about the Miami offensive line, the Miami defense as well. I hit it before. Like, Marcel Reed has not done well when teams haven't needed to blitz. And I think one of Corey Heatherman's biggest traits this year is to be able to get pressure with that defensive line, not have to blitz like we saw against Texas in the second half. Reed really kind of struggled completing passes and had a lot of trouble when a lot of teams played zone. So interesting chess match there between the Miami staff and the A&M staff.
Bear, Brawl the Wild.
Postseason edition.
Montana State. First time ever in the postseason, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Montana State won the first meeting 31-28, which is allowing them to host this game.
I'm looking forward to this game a lot. It'll be a lot of fun to watch this contest. The Grizzly on the road, -4.5 against the Bobcats. Again, Oregon needs this game for strength of schedule purposes.
Yes, exactly.
Any thoughts on this one, guys?
Well, you got your group with Montana.
Yeah,
State
these
Futures,
guys
right?
laid money line though. I mean, I hate to report a money line bet that you could probably get to on your own, but they did lay some 150 and 160. It's now about 170, 175. But these guys just wanted Montana State to win, not to cover. So I want to be very clear about that. It's a little pricey, but in the playoffs, guys will do this.
And they've won 7-9 against Montana. They've really turned this. Montana with traditional power. Montana State kind of. And I don't want to say little brother in the state, but it was Montana, which was the premier football program in the state. But now 7-9. Winner here is going to be a significant favorite in the championship game against either Illinois State or Villanova. $675, cheapest get-in price of this game. It's going to be an awesome scene up there in Bozeman.
I'll make a correction. Montana State is actually the favorite. I saw the -4.5 under the Montana logo. Got fooled again.
Pay attention.
But Montana State is the home favorite in this game. Look, Illinois State continues to have these upsets. Villanova beat Tarleton last week.
It was great. It was terrific.
Tarleton, you were on Tarleton too?
Yeah.
They got bet from 10 to 13 and lost outright.
Well, they're 14-0.
14-0 right out of the gate.
And then when fumble, interception, downs, fumble, interception, downs, it was just a complete. And then at the very end, they had a chance to win the game. Their wide receiver was out by
and the quarterback should have just taken off. He probably would have had first and goal inside.
But Illinois State at Villanova, anything here for you guys?
I'll be rooting for Illinois State as somebody who partied there one time in college because everybody came to Illinois. We didn't go to Illinois State. I have a buddy who told me to say, fear the bird. There it is. I'll be pulling for the Redbirds. Did not bet the game.
They're the one that beat North Dakota State, right?
Yeah, I was going to say they were down 14 with under 4 minutes to go and beat the Bison at the Fargo Dome.
That's wild.
You
down 14 with 5 minutes left.
Massive respect for Brock Speck's crew.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Is that it for college football thoughts?
I think we're out of games.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we're out of game. Have you guys I know I have as few bets as I've ever had in a bowl season right now, because usually you'll hear some things about some of the like these earlier bowls and opt-outs and such, but I haven't heard anything, and with the portal now, you just don't know who's playing. We gave out the NC State bet, which the market is spit in my face. It hasn't moved. It's still 4.5. Minnesota, New Mexico is still sitting there 2.5. Like
Louisville moved that down to 7, I think.
Yeah, they're betting against that one too. I gave 3 on the last show: Oregon, Oklahoma, and Louisville. Those are my 3, and then we bet some Clemson, because there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen at Penn State that isn't public yet. But then Dabo came out on Monday or Tuesday and said, we got 26 scholarship guys that aren't playing. Now, do we know who they are? Right. I mean, there's 85 scholarship players. Is it starters? Is it not? But that was that move. The Penn State rumors moved from 3 to 5, and now we're back to 3. But I still think at 3, Clemson's a good bet.
I would assume Parker is one of the guys who's not playing. But you're right. Like, who are we talking here in terms of?
Yeah, the guys at the Westgate called me and they said 26 players aren't playing. Do you know who they are? And I said no. And Dabo's not going to tell us either. We're going to find out at kickoff who they are.
I have 2 that I gave out, and the numbers are moved in my direction, which means I'm absolutely going to lose those wagers. I took San Diego State at +6. They're down to 3 now. Mestemeyer announced anything today. I think he's going to the portal. Like, he probably won't play in the game for North Texas. Their coach obviously left. He's at Oklahoma State. I like what that's, and that took Utah -14. That's 16.5 now. Kyle Whittingham, announced his retirement ish. Light.
I was going to say he didn't announce his retirement. He's stepping down. He's stepping down as Utah.
Might be a Michigan man there, but 16.5 now, which means I'll lose both those games. The only 2 I wagered on so far. So that's where we sit with Bulls. We'll be back in a second talking best bets. All right, back here for our best bets. Obviously, a smaller slate of games here, so we're not going to have a ton of best bets. We might have things we like and we lean toward, but best bets are going to be limited here unless we throw in maybe some FCS at some point. I don't know. But Bear, what do you got for us first?
Yeah, I'm going to play Oklahoma plus the 1.5. It's like I said earlier, a couple teams that I wanted to bet against both of them, but I just don't know how easy it's going to be for Alabama to reverse that late season swoon. I don't think you can flick the switch like that. Oklahoma's been told by idiots like me that they're the worst team in here and their offense is terrible, and they shouldn't have been hosting. But I think the best unit on the field is that Oklahoma defense. I think they're going to make life miserable for Ty Simpson. I think they're going to beat him for a 3rd straight time.
Who does Indiana want to play?
Alabama.
Okay.
Because the Oklahoma defense and the pressure, that would be, I think, a bigger test for IU.
That was one of the first bets I made. Oklahoma +1, so you can get a better number now if you take the 1.5. You're welcome. I took 1. You could take 1.5. I don't think Bama is going to be able to run, and you said that last week. You don't think they're going to be able to run either. And then look, the market shoved Tulane at higher prices, so now we're 17.5. I think there's something to be said about the way that Oregon is going up and the Ole Miss line is kind of going the other way, right? The public's clearly on Oregon here. We'll see where the wise guys are. But I think there's something to be said about Tulane covering 17.5 in this game. By the way, did you see how Army-Navy first quarter ended?
Yes.
Oh, baby. The ball got to the 1-yard line. I had under 7.5. It's 7-0. And then the first play of the second quarter is a touchdown.
I mean, they had the ball at the 8-yard line, 1st and 10. And I thought to myself, like, run the ball, tackle him, be done with it. They drop back to pass, and he scrambles. I think I even yelled, like, get him down.
I was at the train station, like, no!
He tackled him at the 2-yard line. What? And by the way, the game flew under as usual, right? Like, I mean, everyone thought maybe it'd be the over, and the under was,
what a sweat.
Was super close. Any FCS so far, Sammy, this week?
They like Montana State, but they played money line.
Okay. All right. That'd be good for Oregon's strength of schedule. If Montana State would have win that game. All right. I mean, we're here. We're going to do it. Oregon's still 20.5. I don't get it. But that's going to be my best bet here. Look, Sammy talked about it a couple shows ago, talked about it earlier in our show. Like, this number probably goes up at some point. It hasn't yet. I don't really know groups. Do you know groups that are betting JMU?
Some guys came into Vegas, bet 22 and 21.5. They did, believe it or not.
I mean, my simple theory on this game is that this is the best team JMU has played, obviously. All 22 guys Oregon has that are starting are the best player JMU's seen at that position the entire season. Oregon has played really well in his position this season of being a multi-touchdown favorite. They've covered, I think, 5 of 7 games in this situation. And one was the late Northwestern game where they allowed the 2 late touchdowns, and one was the game in the monsoon against Wisconsin. Otherwise, they covered big numbers all season. So I'll roll with Oregon here, presumably healthy at wide receiver this week, and I'll take my Ducks to cover this game, 20.5. There's also some prop bets. I think they're not up yet, but Marcel Reese, I would take as under rushing. Miami's done a great job this season against running quarterbacks because of how athletic they are and the focus on that. I think Reese under, remember, sacks count as rushing yards bear. They always do, which is a silly thing in college football. So I like Reese under.
And I think Reed, I think his
Reed, I keep going. Reed.
You're thinking maybe Arvell Reese. You're getting ahead of the game already with Arvell Reese with Ohio State. Reed. But I think Miami, they're going to try and keep him in the pocket. I do like that as well. So appreciate you watching, listening, rate, review, subscribe wherever you've done so. FS1, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. We'll be back with another edition of Bear Bets, previewing the remainder of the bowl season, college football life as we move along. Remember, let's see bet, more you lose than you win.